welcome to today's episode of the Moms with Girls podcast. I'm your host, Shalini, and I have with me Ashley.
Hey guys, how is everyone today? We just wanted to jump into this episode, but we also wanted to remind you that last episode we talked about self-care. And hopefully we disarmed some of you from the thought of self-care being a dirty word. And hopefully you have been able to incorporate some of our ideas. This week, we actually are going to reference something that could also be considered self-care, which is fun. Maybe you struggled with self-care, but maybe you also struggle with having fun and not even knowing how to have fun. So this episode, I hope, will just help you think through some ideas about the topic and also maybe give you some encouragement along the way.
I'm actually really excited about this topic. I guess, to be completely honest, maybe choosing this topic is a little bit selfish for me because this is definitely an area I struggle with. So I like to do words of the year. And this year, one of the words that I have is fun, which seems like such a weird word of the year to put. But I realized that I have really come to take myself so seriously. It's not that I don't laugh and enjoy things, but I feel like I need to lighten up a little bit. I've forgotten how to be a little bit playful. So I'm on my own personal pursuit of what that looks like. And I'm definitely struggling. Like, what is fun? In fact, funny story, I actually even went to ChatGPT and I asked the question, what is fun? How do you have fun? And ChatGPT gave me all these answers. And my son came by and he was asking me something. And then he looked down at my computer and he's like, Mom, you're asking ChatGPT how to have fun? That's so weird. And I'm sure for him, that was just such a foreign concept to even be wondering what is it to have fun. And I'm wondering how many of all of you listening also may be struggling with that.
Yeah, Shal, I think you bring up a great point. We don't have to remind kids to have fun at all. They naturally have a ball doing anything and everything, sometimes to our annoyance. They are always looking for places to have fun. And as we get older, and especially as moms, as we learn that we're responsible for these little ones under our care and we have so much to do, all the needs around us have to be met, and feel like, hold on, I don't have time for fun. There is so much to be done, so much that's required of me. And adult life kind of knocks us down a few sizes. I feel like everything I'm doing is serving others and doing a lot of sometimes hard stuff. And this actually really came to light in my own life when I struggled with a big health scare many years ago, about 2018. I went through a really hard health battle, and I remember going to see a nutritionist who was going to help me get back on my feet. And I just imagined she would give me a list of some healthy foods to eat and maybe a new prescription to try or some exercises to strengthen my body. And I was so surprised one day when she asked me a question. When was the last time you did something that was fun? For you, just for you. And I had to almost sit back and scratch my head, kind of like you, Shal, and say, I don't even remember doing something fun for me. I've been doing everything for everyone else, and I haven't even looked inward and said, what will I enjoy? How do I add that to my life? And so she gave me some suggestions. You know, one of them was maybe like grabbing a magazine that you love and just flipping through the beautiful images as you eat your lunch every day. She said, what is those things that you used to do and love? Can you add them back to your life? Because I think it's a really important element for you. And it just took me back and it really opened my eyes.
Yeah. Ashley, did you say that she actually practically gave it to you as a prescription?
Yes, exactly. It was like a prescription for, healthy eating. And here's a prescription for a supplement that would help me. And then there was a prescription every day. Choose one thing to do that fills your cup, that is fun and enjoyable.
That is really cool. When you shared that story with me when we were talking about this episode, that blew me away. So I was watching this episode of Happy's Place. I don't know if you've watched it. It's with Reba McEntire. She and her friend were sitting on this couch and they were expecting one more person to be there. She was kind of the little bit of the life of the party kind of person. And they're both sitting there, women in midlife, and they're both looking at each other like, okay, we can have fun. But how? But what do we do? Like they were so uncertain how to go about having fun themselves. And that really resonated with me. It's so funny how it did. And as I watched that, I wondered how many other moms are in that same boat. So I did think that this episode would be really relevant to many of us today. The reality is we have responsibilities. The reality is that there are a lot of hard things that we're walking through.
Yeah.
There are difficult challenges with our kids, there are health situations, difficult things at work, and we're navigating so much. Like the energy to even think about another thing
So true.
is not there.
Mm. Yeah, I really also think that in our culture, we do have to define what is fun and also what is joy, because I think sometimes those words can interchange, but they're really not exactly the same thing. So maybe we can think about fun as playful, it's lighthearted, it may be recreational, but circumstances can kind of dictate fun, right? If
Yeah.
you're having a hard work week, if you're dealing with a health battle, if you're navigating a tense moment with your child and relationships at school, you may not be able to just break away and have fun. But joy, and we know joy comes from the Lord, but when we have joy in our lives, we can experience that no matter what's going on in our week or in our relationships or our bodies or the things around us. Joy is not circumstantial. And it says in the Bible that joy actually comes from God. It is a fruit of the Spirit in Galatians 5:22. In circumstances that are hard, joy can actually come in even in those moments. And it can coexist with other hard things or other struggles. Because we have a relationship with him, he gives us joy that is just so much deeper. It's why, as Christians, people that maybe don't understand what the way we walk or live can look at us and kind of scratch their head like, hold on, how are they smiling when they're have this diagnosis, or how can they be happy even though there's this clear problem going on in their lives? That's the joy of the Lord. That's something that we can shine to others and show them what it looks like to be a Christian. But fun is also important, but it has to kind of come in line with that idea of joy is just more than a good time.
Yeah, that's such a really important distinction because I find that for the most part, joy is part of my life. And I just thank God for His grace and His goodness in that. That's not something that I have been able to just muster up, but it's definitely
Mm.
Him and the fruit of the Spirit coming in my life. So my general sense of being tends to be joy, even though I may not be jumping around and doing something fun. And even though there might be moments where it may not feel that way, like if you may have had a really hard conversation with somebody and I'm feeling flustered, at that moment I may not feel joyful, but the joy is within reach rather than it being something I have to go and muster up or seek because He has it there within me. And that's just an incredible gift that He gives us. Otherwise, life would be so heavy without that.
The Bible also reminds us that the joy of the Lord is our strength.
Yeah, that's
That
right.
is such a verse that I bring back to my memory a lot, especially on the days when I'm bogged down by responsibilities or stressed in a moment, maybe late to something. The joy of the Lord is my strength. I say that to myself and say, I can keep going. I can do this next thing. And it's in those moments that I pray that I'm infused with joy. I'm a mom, I'm a pastor, I'm a wife, I'm a friend, I'm all these hats, but I can do what I have to do in front of me because the joy of the Lord is my strength. It's not fake, right? Not like fake it till you make it, right? It's actually like
Ah,
as you lean into his spirit, he infuses that joy within you.
man, that is so powerful. That's so important for us to remember in those situations to declare what we have available to us. On the other hand, there is the possibility of having fun without joy, right? You could do things that are really silly, comical, and feel temporary high, even, but
Mhm.
still feel empty. It's like you said, that distinction is super important. So I think in those situations, the fun can even be like a numbing mechanism. You're escaping reality or escaping responsibility or avoiding something because
Yeah.
the fun stuff just feels easier.
I also think that sometimes as women, we opt for thinking that fun is binge watching a TV show on Netflix or fun is scrolling on our phones. And that's actually not the fun we're really talking about in this episode. We really want you to tap into what does filling your soul look like, just like we talked about self-care as part
Yeah.
of that, filling up your soul, doing things that help your body, your mind, your spirit, your emotions. True fun, God's way, is doing things that light up your life, that bring you that spark that maybe you lost, And one thing that nutritionist did tell me and reminded me is like, what did you do when you were young, Ashley? I loved artwork when I was young. And so sometimes doing artwork, makes me feel alive and it's fun for me. Am I great at it? No, but it's fun. And so, and God's an artist, so he designed me that way. So you can actually ask God to show you those things that maybe you lost that he put in there that you can then cultivate and work on to add fun back into your life in a God-honoring way.
When you talk about art, it just reminds me, I'm going to go back to ChatGPT now, but when I was looking at what ChatGPT was talking about fun, in my head, I was picturing fun being something that's loud and active and high energy. But then I realized it doesn't have to be. It really is those things that we enjoy, that fill us up, that make us feel lit up. And for me, that has been reading. Like when I start reading a fiction book, I can just stop life and read. So I try to limit how much fiction I read, but at the same time I realize that I'm not doing something that I do enjoy. So I've been able to limit it to just reading before I go to bed, but it's something I look forward to. And when somebody asks you, what do you do for fun? And you answer, well, I like to read, that maybe doesn't sound like fun, but to me, that is something that fills me up. On Sundays, after we come back from church, it's the time that we really just spend some time resting. And I used to scroll on my phone, and I found that didn't really do much for me. Now, what I do is I give myself permission to just lie on the couch with a cozy blanket, read my fiction book without feeling like I have to get up and attend to all these chores and do anything else. And that has been such a cool thing for me to do that.
I love that, Shal. I love that you found what you love, what makes you feel filled up, what excites you, and it's different for everyone. And I also think as moms, like it's really good for us to show our girls how to do this, right? How to have fun, how to invest in ourselves in this way, in those things that God put in us that we desire, that excite us, that we're pouring into that, whether it be a musical instrument, whether it be exercise, whether it be, like you said, reading or artwork or whatever those things are. When they see us doing those things, they realize, oh, mom's not just a mom, that's all she does is cook
Right.
and clean, right? Mom has this life that she loves. She enjoys doing these creative endeavors. She enjoys doing these things for herself. And it shows that you're taking care of yourself too. And also, it may inspire them to come join you, in what you're doing, or even have a shared hobby that you could have fun with.
When you bring this up, it made me think, if they don't see us having fun, they could project like that's what being a mom is about. That's what adulthood looks like. It's just serious and responsibility. And when we
Mm.
also talk about being Jesus followers walking in faith, we can make it seem like walking in faith is a serious endeavor and that there is no fun, that it's just heavy and responsible. And yes, there is heaviness and there is responsibility, but, I think we forget that God also created humor. He created laughter. He created all those elements that enable us to have fun. Like the fact that we can tell a joke and understand a joke. I think God has given us that ability and that capacity to even create and laugh at something like that. One of the things I
Yes.
always think about is that looking at creation, if you look at the sunset or something, it's beauty and you're like, whoa, God is such an artist. But then if you go look at some animals, you're like, oh my gosh, God definitely has a sense of humor. I always think about the hippopotamus. Come on, think of the hippopotamus. You have to agree, right? You look at that and you say, oh my gosh, God definitely has a sense of humor. So
So
that
true.
might be something we forget. And I don't know if any of you have watched the TV series The Chosen, and I know that it's not biblically like 100% accurate, but one of the things that it does is show that Jesus, when he walked on this earth, he walked as a human.
Mm.
And there are times when you see him sitting with his disciples laughing, and that really touched me. And there's this other episode that I just remember that they were all in the water. Here in the scene, which of course this is artistic license, but he's with his disciples, they're all there and they're like pushing each other over and laughing. It was such a silly scene, and yet it shows there's nothing to say that Jesus was just always serious. He was probably doing things with his disciples that involved fun too. And
Yeah.
that was a scene that really touched me as well, that reminded me I'm taking life too seriously.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's I remember that scene. Actually, it also invoked the same exact kind of emotion in me. Like, oh my gosh, Jesus, you're human. Like you're just like me. You're fun and funny, and and Jesus reminds us in the Bible, like be like a child. We think of the Israelites. They actually were commanded to celebrate and to remember what he'd
Yeah.
done, and then he said feast and celebrate, even putting into our rhythm a once a week day, and that's our Sabbath. We get to rest, just like you do, Shal, on Sundays with your book on the couch. Like he actually wants us to recline and just rest in his peace and his love, and know that the responsibilities will wait. They'll be there on Monday. It is a gift, to rest and to have fun and do things that we enjoy and that make us feel more like ourselves. It is a good reminder not to take things too
It
seriously,
is.
to remember he created us as these beautiful humans that have so many different layers, and one of them is a layer of fun.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. That is so true. Now, we say all of this, but why do you think that moms struggle so much to have fun? We talked about just the responsibility and all the things that we have to do and lack of time, but can we like just look at some more of the things that might be going on that really make it hard for us to have fun?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think one of the things that we can think about is, maybe we don't know what to do, but maybe making a list because we are always so busy, but maybe sitting down long enough to think, what are those things that can bring me this fullness again in my life? Maybe it's sometimes where you might think, oh my word, like how do I even add an extra thing into my busy schedule? I already have piano lessons for my children or sports activities or PTO meetings. I think we can maybe sort through what that might look like, Shal.
Yeah. I do think that one of the things that women struggle with is doing things for ourselves like this feels selfish.
Mm.
And as a result, when we do engage in some of these things, we end up feeling guilt and even shame. Like we have to explain ourselves, like why we're doing it, justify it. And I remember hearing a woman questioning the time that she was spending with girlfriends, all just hanging out. And she said, I don't know. I feel I should be at home with my family. I should be taking care of their needs. And then on the other side, she's saying, but I'm just laughing so much. I'm just being so filled up with my friends right now. But you could see that conflict of guilt and questioning herself and feeling that this is a selfish thing she's doing. And yet here she was being honestly equipped to go back and take care of her family better.
Yeah, I think we can feel guilty and we can feel obviously like, we're not telling you to go party with your friends every day and never, be cook your family meals or be there to take them where they need to go. But I don't think in this case, as moms, I think we have the opposite problem where we're so involved in the lives of our children, our families, that we forget about ourselves and we forget about what we need. And just like we talked about last week with the self-care, this is the same kind of thing. Your kids need to see that you know you can take care of yourself and fill yourself up so that you can care for them, so that you can give them what they need, and also show them what it looks like to be a balanced individual that balances, play and fun and responsibilities and has, or at least a well-rounded understanding of what this might look like, And I don't know, my kids are much happier when their mom is happy and their
Yeah,
mom is, and is having fun, is laughing and enjoying herself. That is a present mom that your kids want to be
that's
around.
true. That's true. I think there is that narrative, right? Like good mothers always sacrifice everything. And a lot of the times we carry those type of narratives in our head. We might have
Mm.
also seen examples of the generations before us who have been so responsible and always there and always present that we don't have a model for that. And it makes us, even if that was our mom who worked so hard and did so much for us, even that could just leave us feeling guilty that we're not doing the same things that they were.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
great point.
So we walk around with that narrative. We're required to sacrifice. That's what a good mother does. She sacrifices her needs.
To the detriment maybe of her own needs and her own
Yeah.
soul and her own spirit, and so we want to
Yeah.
be able to kind of flip the script in some ways and say you can still be a good mom and serve your family well and also take time to care for your own spirit. It's something that will serve everyone involved
Yeah. Yeah.
when moms can do that.
You know what strikes me though? Sometimes it can be a lot of effort. As in,
Seriously.
just the whole idea of maybe if I'm going to go out for an evening. Now it's a bit different now. My kids are older, but I just look back to when my kids were younger and I definitely was responsible for all the things in the household. That was just the right setup for us at the time. So if I was to go out just to make sure that I have all the food available, that all the rides are in place, all of that. My husband's great and he's willing to do anything, but just feeling like that responsibility that makes sure that everything's in place just felt like a lot of effort. And sometimes I was reluctant to even take that effort because it just felt like more work.
Yes, especially when your kids are smaller. It's very daunting. Sometimes you can also feel like, oh, will they do a good job? Will they do it like me? Will they have everything went to bed on time? Will they eat their balanced meal? And sometimes I think as moms, we just might have to let go of some of that pressure for our spouse or for someone who's taking care of them and just say, you know what? It might look a little different tonight. They might go to bed a little later. They might still have a little bit of dinner in their hair when they get into bed, but that's okay. And even if there might be a little more for you to clean the next day, I think the reward of having that night to yourself or that day to fill up your cup is worth a few extra dishes or maybe a little bit extra mess, because at the end of the day, you just got to put it in perspective overall of what your kids were able to see is you taking care of yourself as a mom, and you get come back to them a little bit lighter, a little bit less stressed, a little bit, feeling more like yourself, and that will show in your motherhood.
Well, what you just shared now, Ashley, is honestly a little bit humbling because what you're talking about is sometimes we have such a strong need for control.
Mm.
And like you said, we want things to be done the way we do it. And to be able to let go of that kind of control and to trust another person to do things differently is not an easy thing. That is a hindrance to us if we feel like
Yeah.
we need to have that kind of control all the time.
Yeah, it can be. So this is your permission from us to you that you can let it go and you can
That's
enjoy
it.
a time away, and trusting that your kids will be just fine. I think even just being willing to ask for help when you need a break, your spouse might not be able to read your mind, but just being able to tell them, hey, I could really use some time to go fill up my soul. And it doesn't have to be right now in this moment. Obviously, we'll plan it, we'll put it on the calendar, but can we make this time? We can do it the following month. You can also switch off with a friend, And I tell my one friend, during the day, you're going to come to my house. I'll have snacks for your kids and you can stay in here and watch them while I go out for some time alone. And then the next day I'll do it for you. I'll come to your house and I'll swap with you. You can be creative, but the factor that is going to be the most important is that you have to ask for help. You have to actually acknowledge that with your own lips and say, I need this and I'm willing to make it work. How can we do it?
That's a great idea. That's a great idea for those of us who are married and have a spouse available, like you said, they don't read our minds, to actually ask for help. Or if we are raising children on our own, to reach out to others, to swap out with a friend, watch each other's kids, or if there's another family member, to have watch your kids. I think we are afraid to ask for help. And it's another humbling. If we had a doctor's appointment, we would be more likely to ask for that help. But there's a
Mm,
feeling of guilt or the selfishness that we mentioned earlier, to say, can you watch my kids while I go to a coffee shop and enjoy a peaceful cup of coffee?
yeah,
That's harder, don't you
it
think?
is.
But
That
it's not
prescription comes
wrong.
back.
Yeah. Yeah, the prescription. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No, it's
So we
not
have to
wrong.
really pay attention to what are the things that we are thinking about this? What are the things that are getting in our way? How are we getting in our own way?
Yeah, that's very
And
true.
again, it doesn't have to be big things, it doesn't have to be long drawn out. It's the simple things. It does not have to cost a lot of money. And
Hmm.
the other thing is, there's two sides to it. It could be just something that we do on our own, like Ashley, you were talking about the painting, which is so beautiful, or me reading. And it can also be something that we do with other people and get the opportunity to connect, because again, we are made for connection.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So we really hope that throughout this podcast, you were able to hear and maybe be challenged, but also encouraged that you can take care of yourself in this way. You can actually have fun and you can actually experience joy and all of these things, and you can pour into your cup in this way. And hopefully, we gave you some ideas and some tips and tricks, maybe into asking help, into swapping some childcare. But the main point is that you are able to really lean in and fill up your own cup.
One of the things that I'm thinking is that as we start engaging in a little bit more fun, it will also start creating in us the ability to relax a little bit more, and an ability to laugh a little bit more, to actually enjoy those small things that we might have actually laughed at before, but we've kind of forgotten how to experience that in our bodies, in our hearts, in our minds, because we've been, let me just say, in my case, maybe a little bit uptight. So I was yesterday talking to my girl about sore abs. Okay, weird topic, but we had just gone to the gym. I was sharing with her this story that happened years ago, before I was married. And my cousin and I had actually done these sit ups. And the very next day, we couldn't move. Like our belly was hurting so much. And we used to laugh all the time. My sisters, I have two younger sisters, and my cousin and I, the four of us, when we get together, the amount we laugh. I just remember going out with my cousin and we were at a bus stop. I do not know what we were doing, but we were just laughing so much. And that was our normal. But the problem was we were in so much pain because we had these sore abs. And as I was describing the story, I'm just thinking, even now as we go through this episode, I wonder if she hears about how we were always laughing and just sees the contrast, because
Mm,
I'm not always laughing and I don't laugh that easily. So I think as we be intentional to do things that are fun, to allow our bodies to relax, to get into that state of ease, we will be able to respond better to things around us, and we will be more able to laugh, and things will be lighter. Now, of course, if you're in a really hard season and things are hard right now, we're not saying you need to have fun and everything needs to be different. There are seasons in life, there are really hard moments and times, and we have to acknowledge, and that is reality. But If this is not something like that, then maybe it is a time to pursue some fun. Responsibilities will always be there. As long as we're moms, we're going to have responsibilities. We have to intentionally engage in it. Otherwise, like me, you might start saying, I'm a little uptight.
Speak for yourself, Shal.
Yeah, I do know that you laugh a lot more, Ashley. And I love that so much. I really do.
Oh, we enjoyed this conversation. It was really amazing to talk about this together and to just brainstorm. Why can't we have fun? How do we have fun? What does fun even look like? And hopefully this gave you some great thoughts about incorporating this into your own life. Even I think of Proverbs 31, I think about of she laughs without fear of the future. So please join us next time. Please join us on our connections page on Facebook where we chat and kind of unpack some more of what we talked about on the podcast. And please come check it out. We'd love to talk more with you there. And we'd also love to give you some practical ideas about how this could look like in your own life in the coming weeks.
Yeah, so thank you, Ashley. This has been a really fun episode. And as Ashley said, come find us on our Facebook connections page. We'll have the links below. So as we endeavor to raise strong girls who love Jesus, let's do this with God together. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for our time together, and we thank you because you are a God of joy. And Lord, I pray, Lord, that as we so often get so caught up in all the responsibilities, that many of us may have forgotten what that looks like. So I pray, God, that as we make hard decisions, as we go through hard experiences, that we would go back to that verse that says, the joy of the Lord is our strength. Give us the grace and the energy and the thoughts of how we can do this to really intentionally pursue fun and laughter, God. I pray that you would help us to connect with other women, other moms, and to have fun together. So we pray all this in Jesus' precious name. Amen.